Welcome, brave soul. I am the Forgotten Storyteller. Before we begin, tap that like button if you dare, and drop a comment below telling me where in the world you're listening from. And if you make it to the end of this video, I hope to see you in the next story. I hope you're ready, because I am. Let's begin. It begins in a quiet apartment. A second-floor walk-up in an old Victorian house, with ivy creeping up its brick face and wooden floors that remember every step. Claire had moved in just a few weeks before. She liked the creaky charm of the place, the way the windows looked out over the city's distant skyline, how the radiators clicked and hissed like sleepy ghosts. She had taken the second bedroom and turned it into a painting studio. The walls were bare still, but the light that streamed through the lace curtains in the afternoon was perfect for her watercolors. And at night, she lit candles in brass holders and played soft music as she unpacked her life. But the apartment never felt entirely empty. There were drafts where there shouldn't be, cold spots sometimes near the pantry, and the feeling that something was watching her when she turned off the lights. Still, she smiled through it. New places always had quirks. She chalked it up to nerves, to the stress of the move, to loneliness. That's when she got the cat. A little black kitten from the shelter, with wide golden eyes and a curious white smudge on its forehead. She named him Fig. Fig was soft and silent, like velvet at dusk. He followed her everywhere, curled up beside her while she read, slept at her feet while she painted. But then, the watching feeling changed. Now, it wasn't Claire who seemed unsettled. It was Fig. It started small. He would stare into corners. Not just look, but lock onto them, tail flicking, ears twitching. Sometimes he would hiss. Not in fear, but like he was warning something. And sometimes he would purr, loud and deep, while gazing into thin air. His little head tilting, as if being scratched by invisible fingers. Claire laughed at first. "You're just a spooky little man," she whispered, rubbing under his chin. But one night, as she dozed off on the couch with a book on her chest, she heard it. A soft thump from the corner of the room. Fig bolted upright beside her, his fur standing on end. She turned on the lamp. Nothing there. Just the stack of cardboard boxes she hadn't unpacked yet, and the faint smell of lavender. She didn't sleep much that night. The next day she noticed something strange. When she left the apartment, Fig would stand by the door and cry. Not just meow, but howl, as if begging her not to go. And every time she returned, she'd find him in a different spot. Never asleep, always watching. One evening, she set her phone to record while she went out for groceries. When she came back and checked the footage, her blood went cold. At 3:33 p.m., Fig jumped off the windowsill and walked to the far corner of the room. He sat, then looked up. For exactly 11 minutes, he stared into the empty space, his tail flicking, and then he rolled onto his back, paws kneading the air, like he was being cuddled by something unseen. Claire shut off the phone, and for the first time, she wondered if she was really alone. That night, it rained, a soft, rhythmic patter against the windows. The air smelled like damp leaves and old stone. Claire made tea, curled up under a blanket, and lit a single candle on the coffee table. Fig curled beside her, his eyes heavy. But at 3 a.m., she woke to the sound of him growling, low and quiet, not loud enough to wake a neighbor, but close enough to feel in your bones. The candle had gone out, and there, in the far corner of the living room, the shadows seemed thicker. Fig stood at the edge of the couch, staring into the dark, his back arched, his pupils wide, and then Claire saw it, just for a second, the outline of a hand, not moving, not reaching, just resting in the air. And then gone. She didn't run. She couldn't. Something inside her whispered, "Stay very still." Not out of fear, but reverence, like standing at the edge of something ancient, something that only the cat could truly understand. She reached down slowly, ran her fingers through Fig's fur. He purred once, long and low, and the room softened. The cold left. The dark didn't feel so sharp anymore. And in that moment, Claire understood. This wasn't a haunting. Not exactly. Something was there, watching, but it wasn't cruel. It didn't want to harm her. It was just lonely, drawn to the warmth, to the candlelight, to the presence of a living creature who didn't look away. Only the cat had noticed, and now, so did she. The next morning, Claire didn't rush to forget the night before. She didn't chalk it up to dreams or exhaustion. She fed Fig his breakfast as usual, and then, quietly, she placed a small saucer of milk in the corner, the one he always watched. She whispered, barely audible, "If you're there, I see you." Fig blinked slowly, approvingly. And then, as if nothing unusual had happened, he curled into a warm sunbeam by the kitchen. But that was just the beginning. Over the following weeks, little things began to shift. Claire started finding her brushes moved, always the same two laid neatly beside her palette. She hadn't touched them. When she painted, the air felt different, like someone was standing behind her, admiring each stroke. The atmosphere was heavy but not oppressive, just full. And always, Fig would be there. Sometimes watching, sometimes purring toward the empty air, sometimes pawing gently at a space only he could truly see. She began sleeping with the door open, letting the cool air drift through the apartment, letting the candlelight stretch across the hallway like golden threads. One night, just before drifting into sleep, she heard it, a soft creak, the sound of pressure on the floorboards just outside her bedroom. Not threatening, just present. And then a whisper that wasn't her own breath. "Thank you." Claire didn't move. She just listened as her heartbeat slowed again, and her breathing found that sleepy rhythm. In and out. She whispered back, "You're welcome." She started researching. Cats, she discovered, have long been regarded as guardians in spiritual lore. In Japanese folklore, the bakaniko, a supernatural cat, could see and speak with the dead. In Celtic tradition, cats were seen as soul guides, able to lead spirits between realms. And more fascinating still, across centuries there were countless stories of animals behaving oddly before deaths, during hauntings and in sacred spaces. Some said cats could see the residue of emotion, like pain, grief, and love. Claire began to understand. Her apartment wasn't cursed. It was simply holding a memory, a presence lingering like the smell of old roses in a closed room. And Fig? He wasn't afraid. He was watching. It was always around 3 a.m. when the atmosphere would thicken. Claire took to leaving a notebook open beside her bed. Sometimes she'd wake to find it slightly moved. A page turned. One morning, she found a charcoal sketch she didn't remember drawing. A figure, thin, faceless, but standing beside her easel. And Fig, sketched in delicate lines, curled at its feet. Her hand trembled as she touched the page, but something inside her stirred. Not fear, recognition. That evening, Claire painted for hours. Not from photographs, not from memory, but from feeling. She painted the corner where Fig sat. She painted the shape of the shadows. She painted the weight of silence. When she was done, she stepped back and saw them faces, faint, blurred, emerging from the strokes of shadow and light. Not terrifying, not monstrous, just longing. She hung the painting in the hallway. Fig sat beneath it every night, purring content and happy. The dreams began a few nights later. Claire dreamt of a little girl no more than 10, standing in a long hallway with peeling wallpaper, holding a silver bell. She said nothing. She just smiled and placed the bell in Claire's hand. When she woke, the dream felt more like memory than fantasy. And there, on her nightstand, where only her glasses should be, was a small silver bell. It looked very old and tarnished, but real. She didn't scream. She didn't run. She simply rang it once. The sound echoed through the apartment like a shimmer of glass. And for the first time, she felt the presence respond. Not with words, but with warmth. Like the space around her had exhaled. She kept painting. She kept dreaming. Sometimes she would see the girl again. Other times she saw a man in a postman's uniform, a woman with gloves and a long braid, a boy with a cat just like Fig. They never spoke. They didn't need to. They were seen. And that was enough. Claire's apartment became something different. Not a haunted place, but a resting place, a sanctuary. A place where stories could whisper their last echoes, where shadows weren't sinister, but sacred. One night, years later, Claire sat in her studio with gray in her hair and Fig, now old and slow, sleeping in the chair beside her. She lit a candle, just like the first night, and she said, "Thank you for trusting me." Somewhere in the corner, the air shimmered, a soft creak, a whisper of breeze, and the faintest hum of purring from everywhere and nowhere. Claire closed her eyes, and she felt at peace. Let us know in the comments section if you believe that cats can see ghosts.
Ready for spine-chilling tales that will haunt your thoughts? Subscribe to Forgotten Storyteller for eerie narrations, unsettling mysteries, and haunting stories you won't forget. Hit the bell icon so you never miss a story, because some stories refuse to stay buried. Join us, if you dare.